my name is Joy. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to be doing this video today. For those of you who don't know me, I run a small bookstagram account called Joyful Encounters where I review books and give semi-adulting tips. I do really like to read, especially non-fiction and a little bit of fiction books. Last year in 2021, I read 48 books and this year I read 32 books. I'll give you a bit of context about when I read this book and how it changed my worldview. I've been reading since I was a toddler and have always loved reading, but I did stop in high school. Sophomore year of college was rough. I was a math major trying to recruit for banking/finance. I was trying so hard for a role that was obviously not for me. I didn't know what I wanted in life. I was very confused, unhappy, constantly feeling not good enough. So I did a little bit of soul searching and I found one of these books that reignited my love for reading. Slowly I changed and become a more mature, grounded, reflective person that I am today. That is not to say that I never get crises anymore. I do, but I'm able to manage them better. And I am in a much better place than I was back in sophomore year. So we're gonna start with 101 Secrets for Your 20s. I read this during the summer between sophomore and junior year where I was really contemplating my existence. And after reading this book, I decided to focus on my own life and my own goals and stop chasing other people's dreams. The book is made of 101 points/advice. So there are two things about this book that really stood out to me. Those friends who are uber successful in their 20s are the outlier, not the norm. When I was in sophomore year, whenever I opened LinkedIn, I remember seeing everyone having internships and I had no internship lined up for me and I just felt like a loser and I thought I was the only one, only to realize unless you really are that outlier, you're probably gonna have a lot of crises. You're gonna wonder what you want to do with your life, and that's completely fine and normal. Another one that really resonated with me was our plans aren't the problem, our timeline is. I don't know about you, but when I was 18, 19, I had like this idealized version of my life, and by 27 I already have my own house, own business and all that. And while it's great to have these goals, they're also likely to happen in a timeline that you don't like. For instance, when I was job searching, I remember telling myself, I'll get a job in 2 months. I didn't get a job in 2 months. I ended up getting a job after 6 months. Fixating on a timeline was just adding stress. I learned that it's okay to take your time and to take longer than you like as long as you're making the progress to get to where you want. Number 2 is Steal Like an Artist. You have no reason to not read this book because it's so colorful and so great. This book is for people who struggle with creativity. I read this in 2019. I really liked writing, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I was very self-conscious. I felt like I never had any original ideas. I also felt like to choose one career. If I wanted to be an engineer, that's all I could be. I couldn't be a writer. Or if I wanted to be a writer, that's all I could be too. It's not true. The book really starts with nothing is original, saying your idea is probably inspired or derived by someone else's idea, and it's okay as long as you learn to make it your own. Another thing that I really liked was the page that tells you don't throw any of yourself away. If you have 2 or 3 real passions, don't feel like you have to pick and choose between them. Don't discard, keep all your passions in your life. Really good for anybody who has any form of creative interest. Atomic Habits. This book has been everywhere. I only read it 2 years ago. I thought it was one of those books that people read because everyone else was reading it, not because it was actually good. But when I actually got it and read it, boy, I was surprised. Before I read this book, I was someone who struggled to make time for myself. I struggled with putting in the time and effort to develop the habits that I wanted to. Like I always said that I always wanted to go to the gym, I wanted to be fit, but I never went. No matter what year it was. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones become strikingly apparent. Atomic Habits is about compounding interest on your own life. Instead of doing an hour-long workout immediately, you'll do a 10-minute workout every single day. Doing the smallest version of the habit you want to develop every day is a really sustainable way to turn it into a habit. Whenever I am conflicted, it's an hour of Netflix or an hour of cleaning up, getting ready, or journaling before reading this book. Oh, it's only an hour of Netflix, and I say that every single day, and after a week all I've done is just watch TV every single day for an hour. So now when I'm tempted with the Netflix, I consciously try to use that 20 minutes to do something that I know my future self will thank me for. This one, Ego is the Enemy, I read mid-2020s in the middle of the pandemic. I got it as a birthday gift from my friend, and when I got it I was insulted. I was like, why are you giving me this book? Ego is the Enemy. Do you think I have a huge ego? But now I'm so thankful to my friend, because I almost always give this book when I got together with my boyfriend. I gave it to my boyfriend. I was like, read this. When it's my friend's birthday, I'm like, read this. This book slaps. Not just because it's good, because it really makes you introspect and look back on your life. Incredibly thought-provoking and humbling. If you start believing in your greatness, it is the death of your creativity. We assume the symptoms of success are the same as success itself, and in our naivety, confuse the byproduct with the cause. So when we are really deep in our ego and we want to be successful, we tend to not care so much about putting in the actual work that makes us successful, but rather the illusion of success. A good example would be telling people about your goals, like going to everyone and saying one day I want to start a company, but you're never actually doing anything significant towards that goal. When you tell someone you're gonna do something, you get a sense of accomplishment already, even though you haven't actually done any of the work. So this book warns us that we shouldn't fall for those illusions of productivity, because putting in the work is the only way to get to where you want to be in life. The only relationship between work and chatter is that one kills the other. A smart man or woman must regularly remind themselves of the limits of their power and reach. Entitlement assumes this is mine, I've earned it. At the same time, entitlement nickels and dimes other people because it overstates our abilities to ourselves, it renders generous judgment of our prospects, and it creates ridiculous expectations. Having a big ego makes us think that whatever we want is already ours. Funnily enough, makes us less willing to work hard, hampering our chances of actually succeeding at the thing we want to succeed on. 10-10, one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. Principles! Oh, I love this book so much, and I really admire Ray Dalio, the author of this book, aka ex-CEO and founder of Bridgewater Funds. Okay, unlike the previous books I recommended, this one's really thick. I recommend just reading the first half of the book because the second half is about management and only the first half is about setting principles. I actually reread this book every year, so I've reread this book 3 times now. The crux of the book is if your values and principles are aligned with the decisions you're making, then you will feel fulfilled and happy with your life. Ray Dalio also states how radical candor, which is clear-cut honesty, and pain are the 2 things that will help someone grow the most. Pain and reflection equals to progress. If you're not failing, you're not pushing your limits, and if you're not pushing your limits, you're not maximizing your potential. The book can feel like a tough love conversation from your parents at times, but I think he makes a really good point. How it's really important to know your values, know your principles, and why they are your values and principles. I can't really summarize this book for you though, because this book has so many grains of gold knowledge in it, and I really think you should read it yourself. Well, those are all the books I've read. There's been a lot more books that continue to change my mindset, but I thought this would be a nice intro. If you like this video, please let me know. I am happy to do more. People think if there are books that change your life, drop them in the comment below. I'll be happy to check it out. Bye!